Hello guys and welcome back to Section Football. I'm today joined by George, whilst the others are unable to attend because they're
busy bees.
They are busy bees and they are mourning the Queen, and they are very much royalist. But we do feel sorry and we say RIP to the Queen, but we're going to crack on here today. And
Match week 8 reactions.
it was definitely quite a mixed week. I mean, 3 games got postponed. The South Coast Derby, I think it's called. You know, Brighton Palace, Liverpool versus Chelsea, and Man United versus Leeds, all gone. They're still in our match week 8 predictions, just so we don't have to do 13 games in 1 week. So let's start with the first game.
Also, just quick disclaimer, there is a bit of a bug going around, so there might be a couple coughs during this video and stuff like that. But yeah, first game, Villa Southampton, right?
Well, we also have a slight change because everyone's not being able to come today. We're not going to react to our predictions just yet.
We're going to react to the games as a whole.
And the first game, Aston Villa 1, Southampton 0. And this game definitely was surprising, I think, because, you know, Southampton definitely were on the better form. But Aston Villa, Stevie G, after the Man City result, they had a week out because obviously, RIP Lizzie. And they composed themselves and they really did shock the footballing world, I believe.
Yeah, well, for me, I do like that Southampton team. I think they're a good young team, and I do like seeing them doing well, so they're a fairly exciting team to watch. But I remember I did say I think Villa will win their next few games after the City game, because I think after their poor start, it was probably told, if you keep doing bad, you're probably close to getting the sack. So yeah. I said that after getting that ultimatum, he'd probably start doing well. So I remember I did go for a Villa win, and yeah, they did manage to win in the end.
Good old Stevie G always somehow performs under pressure.
Yeah, tight game as well, though, only 1-0.
Well, speaking of tight games, 3-2 to Fulham against Notts Forest, and you know, I'm going to be honest with you, I did not expect so many goals. I mean, Fulham, it was a very good result for them, but I mean, they probably would have preferred a bit tighter at the back, but I think they'll be happy with the 3 points and cracking start to the season for them.
They're like 6th at the moment, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, for me, this game, I do have to say, I thought Forest would do well, but I'm starting to worry for them. Like, they've completely changed their whole squad. Like, it's mental what they did in the summer, and so far it's not really looking like it's going to work in the end, which is why personally I'm a bit worried for them. Fulham have exceeded my expectations by far, and just for our predictions of the whole Premier League table, I do hope they fall off, because that would actually put them where I predicted them to be relegated. But at the moment they are like looking like a solid, probably will end up finishing mid-table.
Yeah, Fulham have looked different gravy, you know. I just didn't really expect so much from them. To be fair, they haven't really spent like Notts Forest, so that's really what surprised me. It was like a battle of two clubs that sometimes go up and down. Not so much Forest, but Fulham. But Fulham look like they're dangerous and they're here to stay. Next game, City.
With Fulham though, they kept a squad that was arguably one of the best the Championship's ever seen, and they should have got their 100-point marks, but they kind of got sloppy towards the end of the season when they knew they were already promoted. But I do think that, like, they kept that squad and they lost a couple players like Carvalho, but they replaced them fairly well. So I think that it's actually looking like a promising project for them at the moment.
Well, the next game, City Wolves, and the only game I really got to see, I only saw the first half. I got to see the whole game for this game. 3-0. I mean, City, I was expecting more goals, to be honest. I thought, you know, they would do better, perhaps the same scoreline as Bournemouth, but, you know, with Wolves getting a red card, I mean, I've rated, what's his name again?
Nathan Collins.
Nathan Collins. I've rated him very highly for his ball playing ability, but every footballer knows you don't go lunging into a tackle like that and not get red carded.
Yeah,
I just think it needs to be more game sense there from him. and he ultimately let his team down. I think, they were never going to win it, but it was keeping the scoreline a bit low. So I think, City with Grealish looked decent, got on the scoreline. Haaland, of course, is Haaland. Scored quite a good goal, and I mean, there's not much you could say is going to go wrong at City.
Obviously, Haaland's going to score, and he did score again. And yeah, I'd have to say for Wolves, like you said, Nathan Collins, for me, he's probably been Wolves' best player so far. I think he's looked very solid for them, next to Max Kilman at the back. But I was hoping in that game, because obviously I'm not going to support City, I was hoping that Wolves would make it more difficult for them, but in the end sort of just rolled over, especially after the red card, which was a horrible tackle. But yeah, I do think that they probably should have at least tried to make it a bit more difficult for City.
Well, next game was an absolute shock to me. I thought, Newcastle would easily dominate, but Bournemouth proved me wrong. And I think 1-1 was a fair result in the end for these two sides. Yeah. Newcastle did look promising, but Bournemouth
went 1-0 up, didn't they? They went 1-0 up, I think.
No, Newcastle were promising in the later ends, trying to get that winner, but Bournemouth in the first 60, 70 minutes were so far the better side. It's just really about managing that game in the end, trying to grind out a result, because if they're able to grind out results, they could possibly survive getting relegated.
Yeah, well, despite them pulling off some pretty good results so far this season, I still don't think that Bournemouth will be able to stay up in the end. I mean, they're definitely putting in the effort right now, but I feel like if they go on a streak of losing games, the confidence will be gone, and yeah, I think that they will still get relegated. But at the moment, they're putting in a good shift. They're fighting for the points, so fair play to Bournemouth at the moment.
I'm going to say, is their manager Scott Parker, right?
Well, he got sacked, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he got sacked.
I don't know if they have even.
What I was going to say, sorry about that. What I was going to say, ever since Scott Parker did get sacked, they have looked like much better side, whether it's due to new manager bounce and that will fade away, or they just want to play for this new manager, or it's just a bit of a fluke. But they have done quite well in the recent weeks. Next game, bloody hell, this was fiery from the Spurs. 6-2 against Leicester. I mean, Son coming off the bench, it proves that he doesn't want to be on that bench, and he sent a message to Conte: don't you dare put me on the bench, or I will score hat-tricks every week. And he just shows his class. I mean, he's had a rough patch of form to start with.
I do have to say, I think Conte was justified for putting him on the bench with Richarlison playing well.
There was no one could get angry.
Well.
No one could get angry that Son was on the bench.
But then he came on fine and proved his worth.
Got 3 goals. I mean, he's been struggling, and then I think he's just got his mojo back, and I think he's going to probably score quite a lot of goals this year after that rough patch of form. But, Kane also did well. Richarlison, whilst he was on the pitch, didn't manage to get a goal, but I still think he played quite well. But, Leicester, they went 1-0 up, bottled the lead. I just think they brought it back to 2-2. And I said that at 2-2, at half-time, it's going to be similar to the Brighton result with the 5-2 Brighton. But, I honestly believed that they always just bottle it somehow. And I just don't get it. And I'm going to post this clip later on TikTok of Joe saying Leicester 15th. And people in the comments were ridiculing him. I can't say the actual words. But I'm going to post that clip. And I'm actually going to caption it: Joe is a genius.
Yeah, honestly, I
have so much respect for him after that.
I do have to say for Leicester, though, like, what's even the point at this point? That's all I could think of the game, though. What's actually the point of them trying? Because I remember I didn't get to watch the game. I didn't get to watch the game. I didn't get to watch the game. I was out of the time, but I had match notifications on. I see Leicester go 1-0 up. I'm like, that's decent. 2 minutes later, it's already 1-0.
Right.
And then 5 minutes
I'll break down the
game
game for you.
It's 2-1.
So
it's ridiculous.
They go penalty area, and then bloody Sanchez, prap! He dives in on Justin, penalty. Saved first time, but Lloris was a couple yards off his line. So retaken. Tielemans does the job this time. and then they go concede a corner. You know, Leicester with corners, it goes in. And then next couple minutes, another corner. And guess what? Another goal. And you know what? 2-1. At that point, it can be recovered. But I think, you know, the Spurs should have had another goal. Because they had another corner. I think it was Sanchez or Eric Dyer. He jumped in front of the goalie. Goalie claimed he was impeded and he got given it by the ref. I just think, you know, the referees are a bit too protective. And then Leicester obviously get 2-2. And then the second half, it's just a shambles. You let Son come on and bloody hell, his first 2 goals were awesome. But the third goal, obviously, he deserved that bit of luck with how good the first 2 goals were. Yeah. But, you know, I think Tottenham, it just depends. Can they do it a bit? It's like the same with Arsenal. Can they do it against the big 6 clubs?
Yeah, well, I do have to say, firstly, goalkeepers are practically an endangered species in the Premier League, the amount they're protected. And also, Brendan Rodgers, he must just have nightmares every night of just corners, basically, and set pieces.
They brought in this new guy. They brought in the new guy, and he was sat there. I thought he was going to cry. I honestly felt so bad. Because he's been there a week and he's conceded 2 corners. And and then they pan to the Tottenham set piece coach, Vio Gennaro, I think his name is. And he's just smiling and loving life because he knows what he's doing. And I think, you know, they are one of the tallest sides in the Prem. They need to capitalise on that. I think they finally have started to do something about it.
Let's get on to the next game.
Brentford 0, Arsenal 3. I think, you know, this game perfectly sums up how good Arsenal are against not lower side, but mid-table teams.
Yeah.
I mean, they dominated, quite an easy result. I mean, the 15-year-old boy came on impressed when he was on. I just think, you know, they show it's just funny to me because Brentford obviously won 4-0 against United. And then they lose to Arsenal 3-0, but Arsenal get beaten by United. It just shows, against top clubs, I just don't have faith that Arsenal can do it. Like, there's no doubt they can do it against smaller clubs like Brentford and other clubs like Fulham. I mean, yeah, they can get results, but just as, like, can they do it against Liverpool, Chelsea, City, Tottenham, West Ham, numerous names? Can they do it against that? And I think that's the deciding factor if they get the title challenge or not.
Yeah, well, all I've got to say about the game is Arsenal, yet again, look good, top of the league still, but I was expecting a bit more from Brentford, really. 3-0 kind of got brushed aside in the end. So, yeah, next game.
The last game of the week 8, because of the postponements, was the Everton game against West Ham, and I'm not going to lie, this absolutely shocked me, because I thought West Ham weren't better than Chelsea, but they deserved a draw against Chelsea. A draw? Yeah, a draw against Chelsea, and they looked quite a fiery side there. But then they lose 1-0 to Everton. I mean, Everton obviously played well against Liverpool, but, you know, it's Everton always play well against Liverpool because you always want to play well against your rivals, isn't it? But, I mean, the most shocking factor was the goal scorer. It was Neil Morpay. I mean, if you let him score against you, you might as well just not defend at all.
I'm not sure what's quite going on with West Ham at the moment. They haven't looked good enough so far this season. It looked like they were going to turn it around a couple of weeks ago, but since then they've still looked a bit poor. But I reckon in the long run they will turn it around eventually.
It just depends. Will David Moyes get time to turn it around? I just think, you know, he might not, because West Ham saw their success last season in Europe and want to really get back into Europe and back into the contention for top 4, top 6, Europa League and Champions League football, and just think they might think David Moyes isn't the man for the job.
Yeah, well, anyway, we'll finish this video now. thanks for watching. An interesting week of fixtures. Only 7 games to talk about though. But yeah, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and every little helps. See you next time.